I went to actually a Hindu school. So for most of my life, my Ishta Devi was Saraswati. So I actually worshipped Saraswati for most of my younger years, and my school had all the havas. So I feel very comfortable with whether it is Hinduism or whether it is Sikhism or any other faith. So I'm going to actually invite my beautiful half and Geeta. Please come. And they're going to actually help to set the stage with chanting the Shanti mantra.
Sahana bhavatu, sahanau bhunattu, saha viryam karvavahai, tejasvinavaditamastu, ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
I think I can hold the mic in my hand. I'll move this out of the way. That way, actually, I can move around a little bit. Okay, I'll move that out of the way as well. Okay, so now I'm a little freer. You know, the meaning of this mantra, as I understand, is let there be no teacher or taught. Let's all explore this subject in an atmosphere of equality. And let's not quarrel who's right, who's wrong. We're just looking at the same elephant from different windows. We're going to see it differently, but by actually having this atmosphere of equality, we can learn and grow. And this is also for me to remember that I'm also a beginner. You know, I'm as much a learner, I'm not a teacher, but I'm as much a student of this. So I have one request for all of you, is to be here now. And the reason I want you to be here now is, otherwise you'll end up like this patient who goes to his doctor and doctor gives him some advice, and the other day doctor sees him in a restaurant and he looks very cheerful and he has a young 20-year-old girl around him. And the doctor said, "You look very cheerful, and what's going on with you?" He said, "Doc, I'm just following your advice." And doctor is wondering, what advice did I give him? "Sir, you just told me to be cheerful and have a hot mama." I said, "Fix your hearing aid. I told you you have a heart murmur. Be careful." So I don't want you to actually walk away with that and get a totally different message. So please be present here.
But it worked.
So the idea of aging has changed. You know, I mean, there was a time we thought you cannot do 4-minute mile, but then Dr. Roger Bannister actually did 4-minute mile, and after that everybody is doing 4-minute mile and even less than that. So here is this gentleman, I don't know, some of you probably already know him, Fauja Singh, 105-year-old marathoner. So the idea of aging is changing. So whatever RRSP you have, you better plan long term, because you'll be here for a long time. Here is how many of you know this person? Dr. Bali. He is from Montreal. He's a 94-year-old man. He has opened a yoga studio. He has written a book, and he actually is going strong. If you talk to him, I can tell he probably will be there for another 10, 15 years. Now, how many of you know this guy? He's a Chinese chap, Deshan Wang. He started working out at age 60. And then he actually really got into working out by age 70. By age 78, he had his first catwalk. So he's going strong. Actually, he is now 80 plus, and he's now just starting to discover himself. Here is a 92-year-old, again, grandmother who did marathon running. A few years ago, I met a lady, Mavis Lilgreen. She came to our home. At that time, I think this was what, 15 years ago? At that time, she was 84. and she was doing her 15th marathon in Ottawa. And she actually started walking and doing exercise at age 68 because her doctor told her, you better start walking, otherwise you're in a wheelchair. So in 4-year time, she walked a marathon. And then after that, sure, she's been walking and running. So our bodies are not like they just grow old like a car. Our body has incredible capacity to heal and rejuvenate. Mavis Lindgren at 84 had the fitness level and cardiovascular capacity of a 23-year-old girl. So our body is amazing. It responds to what goes on in your mind. So where you are is whatever you have been thinking up to this point. And how you will be in the future depends on what kind of thoughts you're entertaining right now. So here is another model, 85-year-old supermodel. And one thing I found common about all these people is they all actually had a victor mentality. Not a victim mentality, not hard done by life. They all actually had this sense that I am the master of my mind, body, and emotions. It's a different way of looking at it, that I am a victor, not a victim. Now, we are very fortunate here that over here you can actually go in the midnight, maybe in an hour from Ottawa, and still see the Milky Way. In India, I was giving a talk a few months ago, and I asked people, how many of you have seen the Milky Way? And only 1 or 2 people could tell they have seen the Milky Way, because there's so much light pollution. So if you ever actually get a chance to have a look at the sky in silence, and ask yourself some questions about your existence. Sorry, jump too quickly. Okay. So if you just look at this slide, 13.8 billion years ago, Big Bang happened. And this is where here we are, 13.8 billion years later. And our human existence is so small, it's like maybe a few thousands of years only. It's very small compared to 13.8 billion years. You might say, we are very trivial. But I like you to consider a different point of view. Just like when we have a dignitary that comes to town, or a president that comes to town, we prepare for months and months and months, even though the visit is only for a short while. So just imagine the universe has taken 13.8 billion years to set the stage for this talk to happen, for us to actually have this conversation, for us to hear this poem on God, for us to actually connect with each other. It's amazing how much the universe had to prepare for our arrival. So we are not just an ordinary being, we are a cherished creation. We are God's cherished creation. God is actually, how many of you actually feel comfortable with the word God? Okay. If you don't feel comfortable with the word God, you can use the word universe or nature, whatever that appeals to you. So God is holding us in the palm of His hand. We are not separate from God. Just like you take gold and make ornaments. Where is the gold now? It's in the ornaments. So creation and creator are not separate. So let me ask you a question. How many of you seen God?
We do every day.
Have you seen God?
Every day.
Just look around you. This is God in creation, right here. But we need a different kind of eye to see. We need to take off the veil so we can see the divinity in each other. So we are, in a way, God's family. Shiv Kutum. We are God's family. And God is with us with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every sensation in your body. God is with us. Behind every emotion, it is the same divine Shakti that comes through. And that's a very different way of seeing God. There's nothing but God is. So we are not separate from God. We are not separate from the universe. It's all within us. And we just have to turn within. The universe is not outside, it is within. So, we are truly Satchit Ananda. We truly are awareness, bliss, and truth. That's who we really are. Now, how many of you heard of near-death experiences? Okay. There are about 50,000 people every year who have near-death experiences. Either they die on an operating table and revived, or they have some kind of an accident and they have to be resuscitated back. And all these people have very similar stories. And what they describe is that they often go through a light tunnel, and then they are usually often asked two questions. And do you know what two questions they're asked? Anybody has any guess, any idea? The two questions they're often asked is, have you learned to love more? And have you learned to forgive? And I would say that is the only assignment we have of life. To learn to love unconditionally and learn to forgive. Everything else is secondary. All our jobs and all our money and all our positions is all secondary. We're only here for two things. Learn to love unconditionally and learn to forgive. And why do we need to forgive? So we can take all this veil off and we can see life as it is with the eyes of spirit. So, unconditional love, and I talk about it, there's all kinds of love. There's a love between friends, love between husband and wife, love between mother and children. But all of these loves have some bargain. There's some expectations. So there is a bit of a soda baji, you know, understand the word? There is a bit of a bargain. You do this for me, I'll do this for you. Okay. But unconditional love is like the radiance of sun that doesn't ask anything in return. It just radiates. And your presence can heal, your presence can uplift. So it's a very different state of being. That's actually the nature of our being. So I would say that love in the highest sense is not an emotion. Love is the nature of our being, just like the nature of sun is light, warmth, radiation. So when our being shines, all of these qualities come naturally. So somebody can even say that love is actually the sum of all the laws. All the Gospels can be narrowed down to one word: love, love, love. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Love, love, love. But we look for love outside. We complain that I'm not getting enough love, my children don't give me love, my friends don't give me love. We have all the time, we're looking for it outside. Something that is actually inside. How many of you actually in India held or seen a kasturi ball? Do you know what kasturi is? Okay. It's a little ball. It's like a little tumor that grows inside the belly of the deer. But the deer smells it outside. So it runs from bush to bush to bush. And often the deer end up falling off a cliff and dies, never knowing what it is looking for is within. So the love that we really want, actually that's who we really are. But we see it outside. That's the problem. It smelled as though it's outside. So Kabir said very appropriately, Kasturi kundal base, mrig doonde ban mahi, aise gadgad brahm hai, duniya janat nahi. And the same is true for the divine. That love is another name for divine. We look for God all around, everywhere, but it's always within us. The same love we look for outside is within us. And when that love shines, compassion and caring is natural. It's not like you have to force yourself to be compassionate and caring. It comes with it, just like the warmth and the light and the radiation comes with it. Now, some people might get this idea, okay, well, I'm unconditionally loving. Unconditional love is not about becoming a doormat. That somebody can walk all over you, your neighbors can do whatever they want to do to you. That's not unconditional love. Unconditional love is not unconditional approval. Here I remember a story. This saintly man was going through a village and he saw this cobra, and all the villagers were throwing stones at him and he was scaring them off. So this saintly man had ability to communicate with animals, and he told this cobra, you should not bother them and you should not bite them. This is not good. You should practice ahimsa, non-violence. He says, okay, I'll give you a mantra and you practice this and you should not bother the villagers. And this saintly man came back, a few months later, and he found this cobra half dead. He said, what happened to you? He said, well, I was practicing, what you told me, non-violence, and they've been just throwing all these things at me, and they've been hitting me with sticks. He said, I told you to be non-violent and not bite them, but I did not tell you to stop hissing. So there are times we can actually still have to have a show of anger in order to deal with somebody. But you can still have unconditional love inside you. And a great example of that is Shri Guru Gobind Singh. He was a soldier and a saint. And how many of you grew up in Amritsar? Anybody know Amritsar? Okay. So if you go to Golden Temple, in the Golden Temple they actually have all his shastra, and his arrows had gold at the back. So he had so much compassion, even though he had to go for a war, but he always had compassion. So if somebody was hit by his arrow, they could take that gold and get bandaged and get treatment. So that was an example of unconditional love. In unconditional love, you could even fire somebody, you could even sue somebody and still be loving inside. So it's not about becoming a doormat, it's a very different way of being. Because sometimes you realize that somebody may need, you may need to stand up to Hitlers and Saddams in this world, but you can still have compassion and kindness, not vengeance, not animosity, just like Guru Gobind Singh. Now, we heard about that we are all love and love is within us, and yet our reality is there's a lot of isolation and loneliness. We will be sitting in a gathering and people could still feel isolated and alone. We both work with mental health fields, and all day I hear stories from people, one after another. There's so much suffering. There's so much isolation. Now, we were at actually an ashram 2 years ago, and we met a speaker, a black Buddhist speaker. And there was a gathering of about 50 people, and she said, I'm going to ask you some questions, and if the answer is yes, please step forward. So she asked, has anybody lost anybody in the last year? And a few people stepped forward. And then she asked, has anybody suffered from depression? A few more people stepped forward. Is anybody going through financial crisis? A few more people stepped forward. And then she kept asking questions, has anybody suffered from health issues or family challenges or marital breakup? And by the end of it, everybody had stepped forward. And then she said something very profound. She said, be kind. Because every human being bears a heavy burden. You don't know what kind of burdens people are carrying, you know. Because Nanak Dukhya Sab Sansar. As Buddha said, Sarvam Dukham, in our unenlightened state, there is suffering. So be kind to everybody because you don't know what kind of pain or suffering they may be going through. Now, our nature is love, our nature is joy, our nature is peace. But we don't feel that. So I'll give you a little practical example here. I have candy here. This candy is sweet and my tongues are functioning fine. I don't have any issue with my taste buds. So what would happen if I put this candy in my mouth? What taste will I get? Sweet? Everybody say sweet? Are you sure? It's the sweet candy. Everybody say I'll get a sweet taste?
No. It depends what you ate before that candy.
Okay. Anybody else? Will I get a sweet taste if I put this candy in my mouth?
Yes.
Everybody agrees? Are you sure? Without the wrapper. So if I put it with the wrapper, you won't get it. So that is the issue. Our nature is sweet, our nature is love, but there is a wrapping around it. A wrapping around it. I think you talked about that wrapping of the ego. You know. And what is the ego? It's nothing but our monkey mind that keeps us busy with all kinds of things and projects and worries and all kinds of plans and games of future and past. That's the wrapper that keeps us from experiencing our true nature. So this is what's happening. This man and a dog is going for a walk. So what is the dog seeing? Beautiful trees and the sun. And what is the man seeing? All the stuff in their mind about future, about past, projects, deadlines. So we are missing out on life. And this creates a wrapper. So we might even taste one bit of the food and then we don't even remember what we ate afterwards. Because we are in our mental world. We are thinking excessively. That's the problem. So when we are in a very negative state of mind, this is a psychic idea of how our energy field would look like when you're actually in a very negative mindset. But when you take the wrapper off, I jumped a bit forward. Okay. So when you learn the art of actually living in the present moment, and you see here, this is a person who is in the present moment. This one is in the future, and this one is in the past. So when you learn the art of actually living in the moment and take the wrapper off, this is our state. We actually can feel the flow of that Satchitananda, that Ananda. You know, that even we have Anand Sahib, you know, Ananda Paya Mere Mai, Satguru Mein Paya. So we can feel that actually true bliss inside us, you know, because that is our nature. Just learn the art of taking the wrapper off. So same isolation now, if this person can bring presence into it, that same isolation can actually become very glorious. So the answer, long-term answer, the permanent answer to loneliness is to cultivate presence. And what is presence? Learning the art of being here now. Be here now. Whatever you're doing, be with it. If you're eating, eat. If you're taking a bath, take a bath. If you're talking to somebody, be with that person. If you can cultivate that, that's actually, Buddha would say, that's the fastest way to reach God. Because God is in the moment. He's not in the future. He's not in the past. So when you actually learn the art of being present, you realize that loneliness can be painful, but it turns into solitude, which is glorious, which is a very different experience. There is a fullness of divine. You may be alone or with people, but there is that sense of presence all around you. So now, just a little bit practical things, because I'm a physician, so we come down to what do we do with all of this knowledge, you know? So how do we apply it to our lives? So how many of you heard the word sadhana? You know? And our Guruji, Mushfikji, he's my music teacher as well. And sadhana is practice, just like the way he practices his art, he does his riyaz. We need to do sadhana. We need to practice a way of freeing ourselves, taking off the wrapper every day. Every meditation, every prayer, every bit of sadhana you do is slowly peeling off that wrapper, you know, so we can experience who we really are. So let's think of that. We are. It wants to go. So we are like this man stuck in a stone, but every day we can either bind ourselves more or free ourselves. So every upset that you have brings you to a crossroad. You have two choices. Either you free yourself or you bind yourself more. And that's where we have to realize that we have the power. We have the power of karma. All of you heard the word karma? Can anybody define the word karma for me? What's the karma? Your deeds. Okay, anybody else have the definition of karma? So all thought, words, and deeds, any thought, word, and deed is a karma. So we are all the time creating karma, positive or negative. Even you're coming here, you created a karma. You made a choice, and by coming here, it will start a whole different trajectory for you. So we're all the time making choices. And karma is like a boomerang. Whatever you send out comes back to you. You send out loving kindness to people, you'll get love. If you send out hatred, you'll only get hatred, because it is the law of cause and effect. Whatever you send out, the universe echoes back to you. So here's an example of this man. Just whatever he's sending out is going to come back to him. You know? And love karma is not fatalistic. It's not like, okay, people often say, this is my karma, I don't know, this is happening to me. Love karma is actually very liberating if you understand. This is an archer, and he has three kinds of arrows. There are arrows that are stored here. There is an arrow already in flight, and this is the arrow he has in his hand. So he doesn't know what's the stored karma. We call it sanchita karma. He doesn't know what you've done in the past lives, or what has happened to you, or even this lifetime. Many things we've forgotten. And whatever is happening in your life is already some prarabdha coming to fruition right now. But the power is in his hand. The point of power is this moment. What do you do now? No matter what has happened or what's happening. But what do you do now with it? That's the point of power. This very moment. And we met a gentleman at a yoga retreat. We did yoga teachers training many years ago. And he had committed a murder. And somebody gave him a yoga book while in the prison. And I hear about seniors doing yoga. You have a yoga program here. And he got into yoga and he started to meditate. So they allowed him, because of good behavior, to do a yoga teachers training course. And he is now a practicing yoga teacher in Florida and has a studio. Even though he did some awful karmas, but because of the choices he made, a total different life direction. So that's the way we have freedom in this moment. What do we do today? How do we make today? And if you can learn the art of making this day beautiful, be kind, compassionate, caring, then that's all you need to do. Because I can guarantee you, on a prescription pad, you will only have one day at a time to live. Life will only come to you as now. There's no future. There's no past. It's all in our mind. So, whatever your spiritual practice is, whether it's prayer or devotion, all of that, if it's effective, it helps you to cultivate awareness. It gives you presence. And presence is what makes you realize when you start to take the veil off. So one of the qualities, spiritual qualities starts to develop is the ability to be present. Ability to see life for what it is. Now, just a little suggestion, whatever your spiritual practice is, if you ask yourself these three questions, they can actually help you every day. And these three questions are what we call soul questions. And these soul questions are, who am I? Who am I? Just, you don't have to answer it, just stay with the question. Who am I? Am I a body? Am I a mind? Am I a being? Am I a soul? Am I my thoughts? Who am I? Just right now, for example, you're listening to me. So pause for a moment and ask, who is listening? Who is present here? Your eyes are like little camera lenses. They can make a little image in the brain, but how come you're seeing a multimedia surround sound image? Just wonder for a moment. You're becoming present, right? You're becoming aware right now. So awareness is very subtle. But ask yourself this question, who am I? What do I really yearn for? What do I really want? I have lots of clients, they're so busy giving to other people, so busy taking care of other people. When you ask them, what do you really want? They don't even know what they really want. We need to pause and ask, what do I really want? And what's my life all about? How can I serve? These three questions, consider them. They could actually fuel up your spiritual life. There's another simple practice I will suggest with you. You know, what do you do with all the rubbish in your home? You know, we shred them, we release them. You know, in India, they would burn it. So this is a yogic practice called Vasana Daha Tantra. Has anybody heard of this practice? It simply means that our subconscious mind carries all kinds of impressions, garbage from this life, from past life, unforgiveness, things that have happened to us. We need to let it go. And the yogis have a very simple exercise. You take a piece of paper and write it down, whatever is bothering you, and burn it. But don't burn it inside the home. Please go outside. Otherwise, you'll start your fire alarm going. So this is a very simple practice, but you'll be surprised how quickly your subconscious starts to be free of all the dross that you've been carrying. And another very important thing is, while caring for other people, while being compassionate, we forget that charity begins at home. So we need to actually be very compassionate to ourselves first. Mother Teresa, who spent all her life looking after people, no one knew that she had 4 hours a day for herself. 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the evening, just to take care of herself. So we have to first fill ourselves with all that love and compassion for ourselves, and then we are able to offer it to the world. So now, I'm going to ask my better half to actually have you have a little taste of that love inside. And so I'm going to actually, yeah. So it'll be very short, 3 to 5 minute meditation, and then I will answer any questions. You want some lights dim?
Yeah, can we
You-
In the light.
Yes. I'm just absorbing all of your energy. You have such beautiful faces, gorgeous smiles, lovely. So can I invite all of you to empty your laps and just, you'll hear my voice so you don't have to physically see me, so I'll give you instructions. Just listen. How many people have meditated before? Oh, beautiful. We have lots of meditators. Great, great, great. So can I just invite for those beginners to just everybody just sit straight in your chair, face forward, both feet on the floor, just to ground yourself. Palms in the lap, palm upwards, hands in the lap, palm upwards. And if you're comfortable, gently close your eyes. And begin to notice your breath. Feel the cool air flowing into the nose and the warm air flowing out of the nose. Simply observe. Allow the monkey mind to take a back seat for just a few moments. And simply observe like a gentle gatekeeper at your nostrils. The cool air flowing in and the warm air flowing out. And now, if you're comfortable, place both your hands at your heart center. And allow the breath to flow into the heart. So bringing your awareness from the nostrils to the center of your heart. As you breathe in, feel the chest rising. And as you breathe out, feel the gentle falling of the chest. Simply observe. Do not control or try and change it in any way. Allow the gentle rhythm of your breath to be just the way it is. There is a beautiful lotus flower in the center of your heart. And if it's possible, allow yourself to visualize it right now. Feel the texture of the petals. Allow yourself to smell the fragrance of this flower, your own heart flower. And in the center of this beautiful heart flower is a light, a pure white light, your essence, your divine essence. Bring your awareness to this beautiful white light in the center of the heart. And allow this white light to breathe, breathing in. The light expands, and breathing out, the light spreads to all parts of the physical body. Breathing in, the light expands, and breathing out, it shines and radiates to the rest of your body. Healing, relaxing, harmonizing every cell in the physical body. With each breath, allow yourself to go deeper and deeper into this light. And if you have a favorite prayer, allow yourself to listen to that prayer in this light. This light is filled with love, with joy, with healing. It's who you really are, this beautiful light in the heart. And as your whole body becomes a bubble of beautiful white light, with the center being at the heart, surround yourself and let this light spread into this room and touch your neighbor. This loving vibration, send it out to your neighbor. And let us fill this room with your heart light. With each breath, the light becomes brighter and more beautiful. And once you feel whole and complete and bathed in this beautiful white light, send up a silent prayer of gratitude for this moment, this very beautiful present moment. Gratitude for being alive, gratitude for being a human being, and gratitude for this love. And very slowly and gently, bring the awareness back into the room, keeping the awareness partly in the heart. Gently and lovingly open your eyes with an unfocused gaze. Thank you.
Thank you. So just to conclude my presentation, and then I'll take any questions. So in the end, the essence of the whole presentation is Saj kaho sun le sab, jin prem kiyo tin hi praptayo. So love is God, and love is the way to God. So thank you very much. You've been a wonderful audience, and I'd like to thank Dr. Indo-Canadian for inviting me to this forum. Now I have to start accepting that I've joined the senior force. So please, anybody has any questions?
I have 3 questions for you.
Okay, wow. One at a time.
This I heard on the CBC radio that mentioned Fauja Sense was 100+ years. But is there any proof that he was 105? That is the question they asked on CBC. But you know, we people do not believe anybody except the proof, and nothing else but proof.
Well, I won't the question is there any proof he's 105? I haven't met Fauja Singh. I don't have any proof. But I can tell you I met Mavis Lindgreen. She was in my home. She had dinner with us. And I've actually spent time with her. And I could tell that, yes, she's an 84-year-old lady. And so I haven't met Fauja Singh. So, but this Darshan Wang guy, he is 80+. And there are many centenarians. If you just Google it, there are many centenarians who are actually very active, physically quite fit.
The other question is that you said that love everybody, but I think love everybody, even children, neighbor, everybody, but stay detached.
Yeah, and I think that's what he said is love everybody but stay detached. Of course, love with attachment would not be unconditional love. That's again a conditional love. There's an attachment there. But when you have a compassionate detachment, that's what you're referring to, correct?
I love everybody, even children, neighbor, everybody. Undetached means that do not expect anybody.
Yes.
Love. And the third question is that showed us the Milky Way. You showed us the Milky Way on the slide, one of the slides, Milky Way, the sky. Milky Way.
Milky Way.
Yeah. And there is a whole big hole in it,
Yes.
black hole.
Yes.
What is the theory on this black hole?
Actually, that is just an image from Hubble telescope. I don't know exactly what nebula they were picking up. This is one of the images from Hubble telescope, and it's my wife's creativity. All those beautiful slides, she just happens to put images and text together. So thank you. Yes, please. Can you speak loudly? So did I hear you correctly that I was emphasizing the present and not the past and the future? That's no. There actually, what I'm saying is, if you just pay attention, life always comes to you as this moment, and as this moment, and as this moment. We have a memory of the past. We can imagine about future, but actually, it's all happening here and now. So it's our mind that creates a sense of time, past, present, and future. It's actually our mind is only focusing on two things, past and future. Because present, when you're totally in the present moment, the mind cannot function. It's not even in there fully.